The Emperor's New Clothes. Many, many years ago lived an emperor who thought so much of new clothes that he spent all his money in order to obtain them. His only ambition was to be always well dressed. He did not care for his soldiers, and the theater did not amuse him. The only thing, in fact, he thought anything of was to drive out and show a new suit of clothes. He had a coat for every hour of the day, and as one would say of a king, he is in his cabinet, so one could say of him, the emperor is in his dressing room. The great city where he resided was very gay. Well, there's a word that's used differently nowadays. Every day, many strangers from all parts of the globe arrived. One day, two swindlers came to the city. They made people believe that they were weavers and declared they could manufacture the finest cloth to be imagined. Their clothes made of their material possessed the wonderful quality of being invisible to any man who was unfit for his office or unpardonably stupid. That's a really funny way to describe it. It's interesting that they point out unfit for his office. We'll have to come back to this later. That must be wonderful cloth, thought the emperor. If I were to be dressed in a suit made of this cloth, I should be able to find out which men in my empire were unfit for their places, and I could distinguish the clever from the stupid. I must have this cloth woven for me without delay. And he gave a large sum of money to the swindlers in advance, that they should set to work without any loss of time. They set up two looms and pretended to be very hard at work. But they did nothing whatever on the looms. They asked for the finest silk and the most precious gold cloth. All they got they did away with, and worked at the empty looms till late at night. I should very much like to know how they are getting on with the cloth, thought the emperor, but he felt rather uneasy when he remembered that he was not fit. That he was not fit for his office, could not see it. Personally, he was of opinion that he had nothing to fear, yet he thought it advisable to send somebody else first to see how matters stood. Everybody in the town knew what a remarkable quality the stuff possessed, and all were anxious to see how bad or stupid their neighbors were. I shall send my honest old minister to the weavers, thought the emperor. He can judge best how the stuff looks, for he is intelligent, and nobody understands his office better than he. Interesting that they point out how honest this minister is. Let's save that for later. I like the illustration. The little ministers, these stupid people, lol. The good old minister went into the room where the swindler sat before the empty looms. Heaven preserve us, he thought, and opened his eyes wide. I cannot see anything at all. But he did not say so. Both swindlers requested him to come near and asked him if he did not admire the exquisite pattern and the beautiful colors, pointing to the empty looms. The poor old minister tried his very best, but he could see nothing, for there was nothing to be seen. Oh dear, he thought, can I be so stupid? I should never have thought so, and nobody must know it. Is it possible that I am not fit for my office? No, I cannot say that I was unable to see the cloth. Now, have you got anything to say? Said one of the swindlers, while he pretended to be busily weaving. It is very pretty, exceedingly beautiful, replied the old minister, looking through his glasses. What a beautiful pattern, what brilliant colors! I shall tell the emperor that I like the cloth very much. We are pleased to hear that, said the two weavers, and described to him the colors and explained the curious pattern. The old minister listened attentively that he might relate to the emperor what they said. And so he did, since he can't see them. It's interesting the details that we see in these very short stories. The way he spoke, the minister, talking about how the clothes were exceedingly beautiful. Oh, what a beautiful pattern. Let's not talk about what the pattern exactly is. Oh, what brilliant colors. Let's not exactly say how vivid the scarlet is or how beautiful the red is scarlet. How beautiful the pink is and how brilliant the gold might glimmer. No, he mentions no details and yet delivers all the compliments the same. This is what makes this kind of writing very impactful, because even these tiny little details are very in tune with the purpose of the story and what the characters are going through. So his purpose is to pretend that he can see the clothes, so it's important that he speaks well. Now the swindlers asked for more money, silk, and gold cloth, which they required for weaving. They kept everything for themselves, and not a threat came near the loom. But they continued, as hitherto, to work at the empty looms. I have honestly never heard the word hitherto. I hope I said it well. Soon afterwards, the emperor sent another honest courtier to the weavers to see how they were getting on, and if the cloth was nearly finished. Like the old minister, he looked and looked, but could see nothing, as there was nothing to be seen. "Is it not a beautiful piece of cloth?" asked the two swindlers, showing and explaining the magnificent pattern, which, however, did not exist. I like how the writer keeps pointing out that it doesn't exist. "I am not stupid," said the man. "It is therefore my good appointment for which I am not fit. Oh, it is very strange, but I must not let anyone know it." And he praised the cloth, which he did not see, and expressed his joy at the beautiful colors and the fine pattern. "It is very excellent," he said to the emperor. Everybody in the whole town talked about the precious cloth. At last, the emperor wished to see it himself, while it was still in the loom. With a number of courtiers, including the two who had already been there, he went to the two clever swindlers, who now worked as hard as they could, but without using any thread. "Is it not magnificent?" said the two old statesmen who had been there before. "Your Majesty must admire the colors and the patterns." And then they pointed to the empty looms, for they imagined the others could see the cloth. This is some hand-holding storytelling right here. "What is this?" thought the emperor. "I do not see anything at all. That is terrible. Am I stupid? Am I unfit to be emperor? That would indeed be the most dreadful thing that could happen to me." "Really," he said, turning to the weavers, "your cloth has our most gracious approval." And nodding contentedly, he looked at the empty loom, for he did not like to say that he saw nothing. All his attendants who were with him looked and looked, and although they could not see anything more than the others, they said, like the emperor, "It is very beautiful." And all advised him to wear the new magnificent clothes at a great procession which was soon to take place. "It is magnificent, beautiful, excellent," one heard them say. Everybody seemed to be delighted, and the emperor appointed the two swindlers imperial court weavers. Emperors and their imperial court assignments, right? The whole night previous to the day on which the procession was to take place, the swindlers pretended to work and burned more than 16 candles. People should see that they were busy to finish the emperor's new suit. They pretended to take the cloth from the loom and worked about in the air with big scissors and sewed with needles without thread, and said at last, "The emperor's new suit is ready now." The emperor and all his barons then came to the hall. The swindlers held their arms up as if they held something in their hands and said, "These are the trousers, these is the coat, and here is the cloak," and so on. "They are all as light as a cobweb, and one must feel as if one had nothing at all upon the body, but that is just the beauty of them." Covering their bases, I like it. "Indeed," said all the courtiers, but they could not see anything, for there was nothing to be seen. Once again, I really like the picture. They're like walking out. "Oh, can you believe these idiots, the fools?" "Does it please your majesty now to graciously undress," said the swindlers, "that we may assist your majesty in putting on the new suit before the large looking glass?" Oh, they rhymed, undress with glass. Respect. The emperor undressed, and the swindlers pretended to put the new suit upon him, one piece after another. And the emperor looked at himself in the glass from every side. "How well they look! How well they fit!" said all. "What a beautiful pattern! What fine colors! That is a magnificent suit of clothes." The master of the ceremonies announced that the beaters of the canopy, which was to be carried out in the procession, were ready. "I am ready," said the emperor. "Does not my suit fit me marvelously?" Then he turned once more to the looking glass, that people should think he admired his garments. The chamberlains, who were to carry the train, stretched their hands to the ground as if they lifted up a train, and pretended to hold something in their hands. They did not like people to know that they could not see anything. The emperor marched in the procession under the beautiful canopy, and all who saw him in the street and out of the windows exclaimed, "Indeed, the emperor's new clothes are incomparable. What a long train he has! How well it fits him!" Nobody wished to let others know that he saw nothing, for then he would have been unfit for his office or too stupid. Never an emperor's clothes were more admired. "But he has nothing at all," said a little child at last. Even the writer says at last. "Good heavens! Listen to the voice of an innocent child," said the father, and one whispered to the other that what the child had said. "But he has nothing on at all," cried at last the whole people. That made a deep impression upon the emperor, for it seemed to him that they were right, but he thought to himself, "Now I must bear up to the end." And the chamberlains walked with still greater dignity, as if they carried the train, which did not exist. Very interesting. I have heard this story before, of course, but I have never heard this ending. Usually the version that I heard was the child would say this and everyone would laugh at the emperor and make fun of him and mock him. It's very interesting that he ends this way. It actually adds a couple of more complexities to this story. I think there's a lot of interest to this story, even though it is probably, from what I know, the one that most resembles its versions, its urban versions, the ones that you hear from your grandparents or that you may have seen in a cartoon. It's always pretty. They follow the line pretty well. It's two swindlers, it's one emperor, several servants, and the kids. All of that stuff is very well told and very akin to the original material, apparently. This is very much the story I've always heard, save for the ending. So the first thing I wanted to point out was the honesty. Well, two things. One is that they mention that the clothes cannot be seen by those who are stupid and unfit for his job. They say that a couple of times. Facts, as everyone would say, is in his cabinet. manufacture their clothes and patterns, possessed the wonderful quality of being invisible to any man who was unfit for his office or unpardonably stupid. Now, this is very interesting because this is covering the two parts that you will usually. People either value their ego, their pride, their self-respect, or they value their comfort, their financial situation, their security, etc. So these two categories actually catch a very, very wide net, because you will find people who would be honest and trust to say to the emperor that they're lying, they're not doing anything, I'm perfectly not stupid, they can't fool me, I'm not an idiot, and neither am I going to, debase myself by pretending that I see these clothes. So they are willing to part with his office, to put their office on the line, because more than anything, they're not stupid. So those people would not be caught here. On the other hand, there are those who don't care if they're stupid. They don't care if they're incompetent. What they do care is that they might be fired. So it is almost chirurgically accurate to think up of these two descriptions. It is a very, very personal way to catch a net wide enough to catch everyone, which is why it is important that he both calls upon his honest minister. Should very much like to know. I shall say my honest old minister. So honest old minister is someone who, well, he has very good importance on his office. So his office is very important to him. As an old guy, he probably is beyond caring if someone might think he is stupid or something. But most of all, he believes that his office, his job is very important. So that is why he decides to lie. And later on, we have a lot of other characters who refuse to either admit that they're unfit for their office or admit that they are stupid and that they are idiots. And we see examples of all of these characters. So first, we have the setup, which is the swindle, mentioning the unfit for job and the idiocy, and then we have all of the examples, which is usually what you need to do. By showing all of these examples, you are hopefully putting the reader in the place of these characters. Would you say the same? And you start thinking about it. Would I lie? Would I not lie? Would I fall for this? You kind of see the point of this swindling. I just want to go forward and cut, because this is a pretty straightforward story. I don't think there's a lot that I can say that you haven't thought of, that you won't think of by yourself when you read the story. But I think the ending is very interesting. When the guy's like, I've been had, but I'm still going to hold my head high and keep on going. And even all their chamberlains, which were probably thinking, we're going to be blamed for this. It's going to be our responsibility. We told the emperor that everything was fine. And still they'll commit to it. They completely commit to it. And you see this a lot, mostly in the professional world. Children won't see much of this. Children never experience, I think, this level of lying to themselves, which is what happens here. At first, they're not lying to themselves. They're just trying to fool others so that they don't understand that they're either stupid or unfit for the office. But at the end here, they're starting to lie to themselves. They're like, no, I am still, I am wearing the clothes. I'm committed to failure. This truly is such a good story to explain how we should value sincerity and authenticity above all else. Otherwise, we will eventually be made fools of. Because I think that is what this story pertains to. This is what this story focuses on demonstrating, which is when you value the wrong things about yourself, your job, your pride, you are easily manipulated. That's the point. It's not that it's bad to have these things, but I like that it's a story. It's not just telling, oh, look, you mess other people's lives and blah, 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 blah. No, it's just a story that you will be made a fool. Someone will make a fool out of you, out of us. Let's speak in that manner. We will be made a fool out of if we consider ourselves greater than we are, more important than we are. And if we value how we are seen and what we think of ourselves, if we value that higher than what we see, what we touch, what we experience. The truth is the most important thing of all. And when we prioritize it and when we stick to the truth, a lot of bad things can happen, and a lot of hurt and pain can come our way. A lot of disappointment. I'm sure the emperor and all of these ministers, they would be very disappointed to bring sadness, to feel, well, in the case of the emperor's followers and courtesans and etc., they would be, it would be very uncomfortable to bring sadness to the emperor. Even if they were right, the emperor wouldn't be happy. You know how these things go. And the emperor would be sad and disappointed to know that, I love clothes and these guys were just lying. What a bummer, But at least you are not manipulated, you are not tricked easily. As long as you're honest. That's the thing. You're honest with yourself and you're honest with others. Because this story, I found it interesting. It starts with everybody being dishonest with other people. And it ends with them being dishonest with themselves. So it kind of covers both. It's really good. Good classic fairy tale by Hans Christian Andersen. Thank you for listening. I hope you thought it was interesting. I will be doing one of these every day now, at least during the work week. I will see about the weekends. My idea is to do this kind of thing. I will read. Wait, let me find a good position. All right, let me just take the hands off. I will read. I will read a fairy tale. I will react to whatever part I see and wherever I read live. You will see my reaction as I interact with the original fairy tales in their original versions, because I only know of their adulterated versions, the versions made for cartoons and diluted through generations of grandparents telling it to their grandchildren. So it will be fun. I love stories. I love these stories. I'm sure I will like every single one of them, and I'm sure every single one of them will have very interesting thought material. After all, they wouldn't have survived this long. They wouldn't be so instrumental in contemporary imagination and creativity if that weren't the case. I'm done now. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening. This is Kuzcopia, signing out.